Well, today on Practical Church Planting, we're celebrating episode 50 with two very exciting announcements, and we're also talking about 6 things every leadership team needs to know, whether it is your elders or your staff team, things for you to consider when making decisions.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 50.
Episode 50.
Episode 50 of Practical Church Planting. Today, before we get into the episode, we have a couple super exciting announcements that we're throwing out there just for episode 50.
Brian, this has been so great.
It has been.
50, that's like a milestone.
Yes.
I don't know what
and they've been,
to, but 50 just sounds great.
They've been a great 50 episodes too.
So before we get into today's topic, we want to share with you 2 exciting things that are coming up to celebrate 50 episodes together. Number 1, we are releasing a preaching course on December 10th called
Practical Preaching.
Because this is
Practical Church Planting.
Oh, we're so excited for this. This course is about it's all about giving you practical tips for better preaching. So it's not about the theology behind preaching or the philosophy behind preaching. It's just practicality, how to become better preachers, tips and advice. So that is dropping on December 10th, and more information will be available very soon.
Yes.
So mark your calendars. Monday.
Mark your calendar.
Buy a Christmas gift for yourself or someone you love.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll be blessed by that.
December 10th.
Number 2, we have a giveaway for 50th episode.
Oh, just as a thank you.
What are you giving away? Well, if you're watching the video version of this, you see these 3 wonderful books sitting in front of us. We are giving away 3 books by Larry Osborne: Sticky Church, Sticky Teams, and Lead Like a Shepherd.
Yes.
Now, why are we giving away books from Larry Osborne?
That's a good question.
Well, the thing about Larry Osborne's books is, if you've never read any of them, is a lot of them, especially when they have to do with ministry, are very practical.
Yeah.
And since this is Practical Church Planting, we want to give you things that you can practically apply right away.
Practical
so
books.
To enter into this giveaway, you only have to do 2 things, and it's quite simple. Number 1, like Practical Church Planting on Facebook.
Yes.
You must like it. Number 2, go to practicalplanting.com and subscribe to the email newsletter. We will not spam you, but we like to give you updates about things that are going on.
Yep.
Do those things by Wednesday at midnight.
Yes.
And we will pick a winner on Thursday.
Yes. Super easy to subscribe. It's the first thing you see on the website.
Yes. So subscribe, like our page on Facebook. 1 lucky winner will receive 3 free books on things that you can do to practically help your ministry.
Yep.
That being said, let's get to today's episode.
Let's do it. What are we talking about
Episode 50,
today?
we are talking about 6 things every leadership team needs to know. These principles are actually taken from one of the books we're giving away.
Perfect.
Sticky Teams.
So if you like this episode,
you're going to really want to get
You're going to want the book.
This giveaway.
Yep.
So here we go. So these 6 things can be applied to your elders or to your staff, just for your leadership teams on your church. Share what they are, talk a little bit about how they work.
All right.
So number 1, and these are things that maybe are opposite of what we think we should do sometimes, but if we do them, things will go better for us.
Perfect.
Number 1 he talks about in Sticky Teams is that you should ignore your weaknesses.
Interesting.
So often in life and in church, we see the things that we're bad at, and so we decide we got to spend a lot of time making them better so that we can be just better overall.
Yeah.
But the reality is, you personally and your church is going to be better at certain things than others. That's part of the reason God has your church where he has it, because all churches reach and do things differently. And so instead of focusing on the things that you aren't good at, you should really instead focus on the things that you are good at.
Yeah.
Not that you should not that you shouldn't care, but you should just be honest about, here are our strengths. Let's go after our strengths, and let's impact the community and our people with the strengths that God has given us.
Yeah, I think this is good, just life advice in general. I think too often we find something we're not good at or a struggle, and we want to focus all of our energy to get better at that, and then we end up being okay at everything.
Right.
But instead, if we focus our energy on what we're already good at and already passionate about.
Yep. And what often happens too is the things that we're good at, we don't give a lot of time to because we're good at them.
Yeah.
And then we try to focus on things we're bad at. Instead, you want to manage your weaknesses, but you really want to focus on what you're good at. That's where you want to spend your time strategizing, praying, and preparing, so that wherever you find your church and your decisions, wherever you find yourselves making a big impact, keep doing that and make an impact there.
Yep.
So that's number 1. Don't spend all your time talking about and trying to fix your weaknesses. You want to manage them, but instead decide, strategize, and plan around the strengths of your church.
Perfect.
Number 2, surveys are a waste of time. I've always felt this way. And so thank you, Larry Osborne, for
I love that
confirming
advice.
this. Here's what we do. Whenever we want to make a decision, we send out surveys.
Yeah.
We ask people, or maybe we'll do an anonymous survey. Here's why surveys are so bad. Nobody votes for innovation.
Right.
Nobody votes for innovation. So anytime you present something new, nobody knows if it's going to work or not. So they're always going to say no, or they're not going to suggest something new.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're like, what's the next thing that our church should do for a missions trip, or the next thing we should do for whatever you want to do in the future, if you just send a bunch of surveys and ask people, they will never they will never respond with innovation. They will always respond with the status quo.
Yeah, the safety.
And that's not like speaking bad against people. That's just who we are. We like safety. We
Mhm.
like to know what's going to succeed. But if you want to try new things or trying to contextualize the gospel to your target and trying to innovate, surveys will not help you do that. Instead, they'll encourage you to keep everything the same.
Yeah. So what would you suggest in place of surveys? Just making the decision yourself, getting a team around you?
I guess there's some debate who actually said this. I recently read Steve Jobs' biography, which is awesome. And
Okay.
he has a quote in there from Wayne Gretzky, which is really interesting, how the philosophy behind Apple. And he says, pass the puck to where you, something to the effect of, I forget it now, but pass the puck or
Yeah.
or skate to
Go
where
to where the puck is
where
going.
the puck is going,
Yeah.
not where it currently is.
Mhm.
And so that's what Apple's always doing. They're the ones that take away the headphone jack, and everybody got mad, and now everybody's doing it.
Right.
They're the ones that, like, anytime, like, nobody wanted an iPhone
Yeah.
before it came out. Nobody wanted an iPad before it came out.
Sure.
But they said, we're going to decide what people want. Sometimes I get it wrong, but we're going to create this thing, show the people their need for it, and then they're going to want it.
Right.
And so I think the same thing is for us. We need to, especially for the leaders in the church, staff or elders, we need to be the ones praying and preparing and planning and saying, here's where we're going to go. Let people know why you're going that way, but go for it. Don't take a bunch of surveys, because surveys will never innovate and they will never take you to the next step.
Yep. Totally agree.
And part of that, of trying new things, leads to number 3.
Ooh.
And that is this, that you should seek permission, not buy-in.
Okay.
So whenever you want to try something new, instead of seeking buy-in, instead of saying, hey, we're going to do this, make sure everybody likes it, make sure everyone's on the same page, because people are never always on the same page for new things. Instead, you want to seek permission. You want to say things like, hey, we're going to try this thing for 6 months or a year, and not like some bait and switch of like, we're going to try, but we're going to do it no matter what. Hopefully, if you're trying something and you're realizing it's not working after a certain period of time, you will stop it.
You'll ditch it.
You'll change it. But if you seek permission, and because I read this book a while ago, early on at the New City Church, and so I've actually done this without telling people. Like, I've said, okay, I want to try this thing, whatever. And people's responses is way different than, we're going to do this and I need you to agree.
Yeah.
When you say we're
Yeah.
going to seek permission, people are much more likely to be like, okay, I understand. We're going to try this and I'm going to give them a chance. They're not trying to convince me right now. And so anytime you want to make a decision, especially the bigger the decision is, you want to seek permission, not buy-in. So for example, when we went to 2 services,
Mhm.
we needed to, because we ran out of space.
Yep.
But we changed our service times. We did 9:15 and 11, and then 9:30 and 11, like 3 weeks in. And
Yeah.
we said, we're just trying this out. We don't know, and this might be not the best example, but like, we don't know what the best time is. And so instead of saying, this is the best time, we're going to do it, and then we found, that it was actually a little bit too long in between services for our space and that sort of thing, it allows us to change things without people being like, I thought you said we had to do it this way.
Yep. I think this is especially valuable in a church planning world.
Yes, 'cause things change.
Yeah, because things change and people have preconceived notions of the way they want things to be. And so to come across as this is the way we're trying it, knowing that it'll probably change, maybe it won't, but it'll probably change down the road, I think is a lot less offensive than making every decision super concrete
Yes.
and then kind of looking like you can't make the right decision. If
Yes.
every decision you make is really concrete and you keep changing it,
Right.
then in reality it looks like you just can't make
I think
decisions.
all 6 of these leadership things, principles that leadership teams need to know, are helpful. But if I were to pick one, I would say this is probably the most helpful. And because we often think whenever we do something, we have to convince everybody.
Yeah.
But I promise you, if you try to instead seek permission and say, we're going to try this, instead of saying, we're do this, you better like it, people are more likely to put their guard down and say, okay, let's try it.
Right.
And then if they see that it works, they'll want to keep it.
Perfect.
Number 4, let squeaky wheels squeak. What this means is there will always be usually a very small minority of people who do not like things and people that complain.
Yeah.
Sometimes you make decisions based off of, maybe you've done this, what they may think.
Mhm.
And Larry Osborne in his book says, he said very soon in the church that he was at when they were kind of younger and all that sort of thing, he said, one of the elder meetings, he's like, okay, we're never going to use the word they anymore, because unless you can tell me who they are,
Yeah.
I don't care about what some anonymous person says. And half the time, they is just like a figment of your imagination. You
Yep.
think your people aren't going to like something.
Yeah.
And so don't say they. You need to have a name to people that may not like something. But the principle here is you're always going to have people that complain. And so instead of always trying to placate them and to reassure them and to make them happy and to make sure they're okay with every decision, let them complain. I mean, you don't want them to like ruin the church, but let them be, it's not your job to make them like everything you do, in other words. So don't spend all your energy trying to make them get on the same page, do what you're going to do, and let them keep squeaking.
Yeah, I think this one might be one of the most difficult, because especially if
Yep.
you're early on and you have 20 people, 30 people, 50 people coming around, and you're worried about offending someone and them leaving,
Mhm.
you want to try and please everybody because you got to keep everyone that you've got. So this is a hard one to
Right.
uh,
And this is not
do.
to say to ignore someone or to not care about them, but it's not your job to make everybody happy with everything you do. And you'll find normally it's the same people that
Yeah.
will often complain about things. And it's okay that not everyone likes everything that's happening. It's
Yeah.
okay. Like you said, the smaller you are, the harder this is. But the earlier on you can learn this, the better it is for the long-term health of your church and just you as a leader to know it's okay for not everyone to like it.
Right.
So let squeaky wheels squeak. Number 5, this one might not be too difficult for church plants because church plants are typically more innovative and doing whatever they want. They don't have the tradition baked into the way they've always done it yet.
Right.
But that is to let dying programs die. In other words,
Yes.
if something's not working, of course, you make sure it's the appropriate amount of time that you've been given into it, all that sort of thing, but let it stop. And I would even say with that, like, also just change things if they're not working.
Yeah.
You know, so often, so when for example, when we did the service thing, we were 2 weeks in after the second Sunday, and we were like, this isn't going to work. So I asked one of the guys at our church here who's been part of church staff for a long time. I was like, should we change the service? And he was like, what he said to me was very profound. I never thought of it that way. He said, oftentimes, if the church staff, if you're feeling like something needs to be changed, everyone else is also feeling that as well. And they're wondering why the church isn't doing anything about it.
Right.
So it's better to be quick than to draw something out just because you said you were going to do it a certain way.
Yeah.
So like the easy thing for us to do would be like, we said 9, 15, and 11 were going to be our service times. Let's do it for 2 months. But we knew after the first week, definitely after the second week, because the size of our space, whatever, it was just too long.
Yeah.
And so as opposed to just waiting this out for 6 more weeks just because whoever they are, says that we should, let's just do what we need to do if it's very obvious what needs to happen.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think just you need to, I don't know, make the decision that needs to be made.
Yep.
And move on.
That's right.
You know?
So again, it might be a big thing at church plants. So maybe it's not so much let dying things die because unless you've been around for a while, but just make quick decisions that are obvious that need to be made, even if it's not the most fun or it can be a little bit annoying or you have to backtrack what you said a little bit. In the end, it's better just to make the decision.
Yeah, especially if it's something that's damaging. Like we could probably make the argument that the space between our services was kind of damaging. To have that much kind of empty space is the reason it was.
And we've talked about previous episode about creating energy on a Sunday morning. It was not creating energy because there was like a dead period.
Yeah, so if you recognize something damaging, it's more damaging to let it continue than to kind of have that pride of not wanting to go back on your decision or change your decision. When in reality, everyone is expecting, like you said, everyone's expecting you to change it and wondering why you're not.
That's good. And then number 6, this may seem obvious, but we do need to do it, is we need to plan and pencil. So, and I think especially the earlier on the church plan, especially if you haven't launched yet, it's very easy to say, here's what we're doing, here's when we're doing it, here's why we're doing it, even to attach Bible verses to it to like get people on board. And then you realize it doesn't work and then you try to change it. And people are like, hold up, you said we were doing it this way. You even attached Bible verses to it. And so is this like, we're going against the Bible because we're doing these things? You need to plan a pencil, particularly when it comes to your budget. So what often happens is, and we've experienced this as a new church, like things can change in your budget in the course of a year, especially when you're small, you're new, and you're growing. And so you have to be willing to be like, okay, here's what things are, how we plan them to be. Things are changing, so let's kind of move things around a little bit. So don't be so rigid in all your decisions. Be open and willing to change things throughout the year, whether that's your budget, whether that's your calendar, your service times, whatever. Just say, here's what we're doing, but be flexible. And I think, just like let dying programs die, this one might not be too difficult for newer churches, but you want to keep that kind of culture, if you will, with you as you grow, to never be too rigid of here's the way we've done it, but we've moved spaces or we have more people. Like we've got to adjust. We can't just do it because we said we were going to do it this way forever.
Yeah, I think extreme rigidity, well, like you said, it's probably not as common in a church planning world. I think can be super dangerous.
Yes.
Like when it comes to creating budgets, it's, if you create a budget for a first year church plant, it's kind of like creating a personal budget for the first time. You're going to be wrong. I mean, there's no way you're going to be 100% right. You're going to be wrong. You're going to have to change budgets. You're going to have to adjust things. And to be so rigid of this is the way we did it, this is the way we said we're going to do it, so we're going to keep it this way, it's going to hurt.
Yep. So plan and pencil.
Yep.
All right. So those are 6 leadership principles your team needs to know. I'll say them again real quick. Ignore your weaknesses. Surveys are a waste of time. Seek permission, not buy-in. Let squeaky wheels squeak. Let dying programs die. And plan in pencil.
Excellent.
Well, thank you so much for listening to episode 50 of Practical Church Planting. Again, Practical Preaching course is coming out on December 10th.
Coming at you.
And also get in on this free giveaway. You don't even have to do anything really. You don't have to share anything. You don't have to invite anyone else to do anything. Go on Facebook, search Practical Church Planting.
Click like.
You'll even find Practical Planting, the group, Church Planting group. You can join. But you have to like our Facebook page. Go to practicalplanting.com and join our email list. and we will pick a winner on Thursday morning.
Awesome.
And we'll send you these 3 books for free from Larry Osborne.
I hope you win.
That's our gift for you. So thanks for being with us. As always, practicalplanting.com/questions. If you have something you want us to talk about in a future episode, thanks for making these first 50 episodes great.
Yes.
Share it with
Yes.
your friends. Like us on Facebook. Do all the great stuff. Let the world know that we're changing the world together.
That's right.
All of us together.
You and us.
So thanks for being with us, and we'll be with you next time on Practical Church Planting. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Practical Church Planting. Whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or Practical Planting, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, make sure you like or subscribe or do whatever it's telling you to do or should do on that platform.
And hey, if you are so tired of looking at our ugly faces, but you're not tired of listening to our beautiful voices, then you can find our podcast if you just search Practical Church Planting on iTunes or Google Play. Make sure not to just find it, not just to listen, but to subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe. Brian, tell them to subscribe.
Subscribe.
See you next time.